I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money killer commentator. On today's show, business succession planning for executives and business owners. Part 4 in our series on financial security through tax advantage strategies with nationally recognized authority, Charlie Day. Charlie, welcome to the fourth segment. You are the retirement guru for all that is business owner, entrepreneur, and executive bonuses, because these are the kind of big-time perks that big rainmakers are looking when they join a firm. Would you not agree with that?
Well, it's nice to be known.
and I appreciate that. And you, how long have you been in our business?
I started at Cigna in 1965.
Wow.
So I've been in this field for over 40 years.
You're a member of the American Academy of Actuaries. You're an enrolled actuary yourself. You're a CLU. You have a lot of credentials behind your name, and you've been doing this specific thing that we've been talking about all week, this defined focus plan. How long?
The benefit focus defined benefit plan as a business model has been going on since 1994.
So this is not that new at all. This has been around for a long time.
No.
Okay.
And in 2006, all the things that we had been doing got codified and memorialized in law and regulation.
Okay, well, let's walk through the dynasty strategy and why this is so important as we're moving from estate to business succession.
Okay, we talked about when mom and dad die and they've got this $3 or $4 million in the defined benefit plan. What I have found among business owners who have family members in the business, that this strategy allows them to take these assets that have provided them fundamental financial security, and when they die, to play it forward to the next generation. And they do that much the same way we do in very large retirement plans. When the participant dies, the assets that we were used to fund their benefit stay there to fund the people who are still there and the new people coming in. And so this principle is to be able to reuse the assets and keep them totally outside the estate tax structure. So in a closely held business where you really want to maximize the use of this strategy for your next generation, you take the gain that created at the parent's death, and in order to get those assets to be used, you employ the children, and you give them a W-2 compensation on which a benefit can be based. Thus, we use the gain to fund the pension liabilities that come from their participation. And it doesn't necessarily require a rigorous occupational activity. I have clients who have children who are in other occupations, but they're part of the family management, asset management company, and receive compensation for the responsibilities and duties that they have in the family limited partnership or in the family LLC.
So they're continuing the legacy of the family. It's staying within the bloodline, and yet the kids could have other vocations.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how the dynastic strategy is how we're able to play this forward. Now, I want to talk about how we get these deductions to the level that they are and what the source of that is in the code. So I'm going to use an example of male age 52 that's going to retire in 10 years at the maximum benefit under the code at age 62. That maximum benefit is $215,000 a year, or $17,917. And under the code, and you can have a death benefit. Under a lump sum base, it can be 100 times on a pre-retirement basis, but under the benefit focus, it can be both pre and post. And you will see in the next series of slides how the magnitude of these deductions are derived. So first of all, I want to start with some terms. So you take us to the next slide. The slides are identified by term. First is funding target normal cost. This is the value of the benefit being earned each year. So if I have a maximum benefit under the code of $17,917, I can earn 1/10 of that each year. It takes me 10 years to get 100% of that benefit. So each funding target normal cost is the value, the present value, how much money I need today to provide that 1/10 benefit, $1,791.70. And that's the value of the benefit accruing. Now, the cumulative benefits are called the funding target. And this is the value of the sum of benefits being earned each year. Now, since the funding target normal cost is the present value of that 1/10 benefit at age 52, at age 63 or 53, we have 9 years to fund for the next year, so that cost goes up. And the next year, that next unit of $1,791 goes up. And so they recognized that you would have an ever-increasing cost under this method. So they created what was called the cushion amount. In other words, we can add to the cost of funding 50% of the funding target, net of the plan assets. And we can add all these up together to get the maximum deduction and adjust for the prior year plan assets. And I'm going to show you how that works. So we'll go back to the numbers that we saw in our second session about the deductions, and we had 204 with a typical cash balance or lump sum plan. If we added a death benefit, 259. If we went to the benefit focus, 256,000, and if we added a pre and post retirement death benefit, 539,000. Well, how do we get these numbers? Well, that takes us to the next slide. And wow, don't let this overwhelm you. But everything you see here in yellow is 436 of the code, the Internal Revenue Code, section 436, that tells the actuary how to value each one of those 1/10 benefits. And in the first year, under a lump sum focus plan, it's 170,000 and change. Well, if my business has been in business for at least a year, I can add the cushion amount, which is 50% of that, and allows me to raise the deduction to 204. Now notice in the second, third, fourth years, it's going up every year. That's because each year's value gets stepped up. But if we use the cushion amount, we put more money in the plan, next year we add up those three elements, the cushion amount, the funding target, and the funding target normal cost, and subtract the prior year assets, we get a second year deduction, not as high as the first year, but you can see that even though the cost is going up, the fact that we've created the cushion has allowed us to manage our costs. And if you did the maximum here in the first 4 years, you can see these zeros occur. You don't have to make a contribution because your assets are 900,000 and your liability is 500 and change. So basically, every plan has to follow this fundamental methodology of adding the actuarial liabilities, subtracting the prior year assets to get your maximum deduction and a contribution range. So now let's take the lump sum base plan and let's add a pre-retirement death benefit. And here we see that we are adding 2 new columns that are being filled. And what we use is the IRS tables to determine the value of that death benefit. We can add that. And of course, what that does is raise the cushion amount, raises the actuarial liability of the funding target, and takes our deduction close to 300,000. But what if I want to go to a benefit focused basis? So there you can see that my benefit focused contribution is 265 versus the 204. Now, if I want to add a pre- and post-retirement death benefit, you can see that I'm up to 539,000, and I have a very large cushion amount. It's over 300,000. My funding target is 300,000. My cushion amount is pushing close to 200,000. Add all those units up, and I'm putting in 500,000. Now, I need to transfer the risk of the death benefit. So I get an insurance policy, and my recommended form of insurance policy is a limited pay whole life so that the policy is paid up at retirement. And it creates cash value. And you'll notice that beginning in the 3rd and 4th year, the cash value increase equals the premium. But you see, my premium is 100,000, but I have picked up over 300,000 of additional deductions. So of that additional deductions, only 100,000 is confined to the premium, which I'm using to transfer the risk. And over the term of the 10 years that I'm funding this plan, my cash value equals my sum of my premium payments. So it's a net out positive, and at the same time, I have created substantially larger forms of resources in my plan that I would otherwise not be able to do it.
So from a single dump of 204,000 to 4 slides later, we're at 539 because the cushion is being affected by this. This living benefit before retirement and after retirement is what's making the difference here.
Yeah, and I've got the best of all worlds. I've got an income stream that my wife and I cannot outlive. When I die, I create a death benefit that either can go to my wife or she can disclaim it and go into our trust. And if my kids are going to be involved in our business, and when both my wife and I have passed, there's about 30 years difference between us and them. So when we get out in our 90s, they're getting close to retirement. Basically, their retirement fund is all funded and without any estate tax. Now, so one of the questions is, if I go benefit focus, am I locked into it? And the answer is no. Remember, we talked about control versus ownership. And we said you are 1 in 3 persons, the plan owner, the plan sponsor, the plan participant, the plan trustee. You are 1 in 3 persons. You can amend this plan. You can take it back to a lump sum based plan if that's what you want. But what you need to be mindful that let's say in 4 years, or in the 5th year, we have $1.6 million in assets. Now, let's go back to the 2 slides back.
Is that 1 or 2? There.
Okay. And look down here at what the liability is going to be. It's close to $2 million, okay? We could change the plan at that point, at the end of 5 years, change it to a lump sum base, don't make any more contributions. Basically, we have basically fully funded your lump sum focus plan that you had been considering, but you can do it in 5 years versus 10, and it's all done. So you basically have 4 fundamental benefits with this strategy. 1, you have a deduction potential that's 2.5 to 3 times greater. You're going to generate more assets in a shorter period of time. The assets are going to bypass the state tax structure, and you have the ability to change and wear away the assets that you created and not have them subject to this GAT excise tax.
So there's a lot of flexibility here. This isn't in ground.
Right.
Listen, don't forget to watch our next segment on the decision-making process for executives and business owners, part 5 in our series on financial security through tax advantage strategies. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the